Well, PAX Unplugged just revealed all 12 legends. We are going to be looking at all 12 of them, the abilities that they have, and what we can expect going forward, especially as we get ever closer to more cards being revealed. So what do these legends say? Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. So, I mean, wow, we got a lot revealed at that time, and man, am I excited to see how all of this is gonna end up. Now, the hard part about having the legends is we have, you know, kind of the highlights without the context. And so, because with a lot of these sets that are going to be coming out, you know, what we saw with these legends, it's kind of the theme that the whole deck will revolve around, but we don't have the meat of that context necessarily. Yes, there are going to be some ways we are going to be able to tell with what, you know, Origins has already revealed and what could complement these decks incredibly well. But I mean, still, we have like what I think about probably about 170 180 cards that still need to be revealed that are in this set. That is a lot that can really change a legend ability that's kind of to a that's actually pretty good because of the synergy that these cards are going to be able to add. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and look at these legends. Now, just so you guys know, these are going to be available on Piltover Archive, and I'm sure as soon as they get high resolution cards or card images, they'll be adding the rest of the cards that were revealed at PAX Unplugged. So if you guys want to also see those videos, I have a refresher on what ended up happening and a quick video that goes over everything that they revealed, and also the article down in the description below if you want to just read what they quickly revealed, with the majority of the slides also being on that article. So a lot of really good stuff to be able to see here. Now, there were a couple of leaks that actually ended up coming out a little bit earlier than what was expected. There's that one Chinese post where everything was extremely blurry, showing all of these legends. And of course, some of them were ending up being correct. There was like Jax, for example, which you can see right above me, that was predicted and correctively so. And also Rek'Sai, which is really interesting as well over here. I mean, this is gonna be an interesting one, and there are some really eyebrow raising legends that are getting me pretty dang excited for this set. Now, of course, this is way too early to even assume how these are going to be able to like pick out or rank in the meta. You know, you're not going to be looking at Ezreal and being like, he's the new tier 0, he's going to be above Kai'Sa in this. No, not by any means yet. That'll be a lot clearer after all the cards are revealed on December 3rd. And that's what's going to be really interesting to see. And we got a lot of really exciting stuff, and we are going to be following that the entire time. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at Rumble. Now with Rumble, they're interesting. Mechs have shield +1. So while they're defending, they get +1 might. So yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing, is how many mechs are there actually going to be in this set? And that's going to make a big difference on the viability of this deck as well. And that's the thing, is we have a couple that we saw in set 1, but nothing necessarily that's mind-blowing or, you know, really all that intimidating. So that's going to be the big thing, is how many mechs do we actually have in this second set? And are those going to be meta-relevant at this point as well? I mean, you're going to be able to see, you know, what we have in Origins, and there are a few that are notable, but not necessarily mind break or like meta breaking or anything of that nature. Not to say that there needs to be, but it definitely would help, especially with Rumble's legend ability on taking this deck to the next level. So again, time will tell, but this is a pretty cool idea, and I like what they are trying to do there. Now, one of the new ones that did just get revealed today as well is going to be Lucian, and he is looking good right there. And his cards are also going to be really interesting. We saw his signature spell as well, being able to go ahead and move in and move back out of a battlefield, basically, to be able to give him the point and the protection in the following turn. Now, red and orange is going to be really interesting. We already saw what a lot of these in set 1 are able to do in this color combination. Not only that, but the amount of removal that is also in red is going to be going hand in hand with Lucian, which is going to be absolutely crazy on the combos that we are going to have. Lucian specifically says your equipment gives... each give assault +1. So if you go ahead and you have 3 equipment on a single unit, well, that's assault +3. Not only that, but also the adjacent abilities that the equipment is going to be giving to these units as well. Now, this is going to be going hand in hand with Lucian's ability as a weapon master, being that when he comes in, he gets to automatically equip a equipment to him. And that's going to be a big difference maker as well, because he can also even grab equipment from other units on his base or battlefield that he is at when he comes into play. So that can be a whole different dynamic on really making Lucian the champion such a scary deck, or such a scary unit in this case. This is going to be really fun to be able to see. And I just really love also this color combination. They have a lot going for it to really make this a powerful deck. And I'm going to be curious. I want to see some theory crafting here on what Lucian's going to be able to do. Looks like it's going to be just a lot of fun and a really dynamic deck to be able to utilize. Next, of course, probably one of the best decks. Again, this is going to be tough to say just because we don't necessarily know, but knowing Draven's ability, signature spell, and also even just this color combination is going to be extremely good. Now, with that, when you win combat, draw 1. That's not the same as conquering, and you should remember that, just because it's like, well, if you're early in the game and you play, a sneaky deckhand to a battlefield, well, that doesn't count as winning a combat. You just get the conquer point in that case. Cool. That's awesome. But if you go ahead and attack him with Draven and you clear out the battlefield and you score that way, then you get to draw 1. So if you end up capturing both battlefields at that point, well, then you're going to be able to then get 2 cards. Not only that, if you then go in with, like, say, a Kaisa, then you'll get to draw a card. Or if you go in with Draven and Cleave, you get 10 at that point in Might that you then go ahead and attack in. And that is so difficult to be able to hold a battlefield. And then not only that, Draven's signature, which is allowing to be played at reaction speed, can add 3 might on top of that. So just a lot of huge dynamics right there that are going to make Draven just incredibly fun as a legend. And I'm going to be curious to see how many people flock over. This is interesting, though, because it is purple. There are a lot of movements, hidden cards in the sense of fight or flight or things of that nature that you can really utilize to make Draven just such a good combination. It almost feels like he could be a combo of Annie and Jinx in this case. He's almost even like a little bit better of a Jinx where, Jinx's ability only activates if you have 1 or less cards in hand, then you get to draw an additional card at your upkeep. Okay, cool. But that's kind of a hard thing to sometimes hit on a regular basis. But Draven, on the other hand, you get rewarded for conquering. You get rewarded for being aggressive. And that's why I think he's just going to be an absolute menace in this next set. Now, of course, with that as well, we are going to Rek'Sai, and he is going to wreck this meta just with what he is able to do. When you conquer, you may exhaust me to reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1 and recycle the rest. Ooh, now that is good. I mean, just imagine. Now, this does have some really cool abilities to be able to utilize. There's a lot of fun stuff to be able to interact with. There's also his signature spell, which allows you to go ahead, and I think it said look at the top 2, and then you would be able to play it for 2 less in that case as well. And that even has a Legion ability, can work with Legion abilities. So, for example, you could go ahead and get a Noxus Hopeful out for literally free with the signature spell here, but this is the Legend ability, and still, you could put some pretty big stuff. I mean, if you wanted to go ahead and put like a Volley Bear or things of that nature in there, awesome way to do that. Not only that, Candlelit Sanctum as a battlefield could be a very interesting one, because you're able to then go ahead and look at both or the top 2 cards, decide to put them on the bottom, or even switch how they are supposed to be. So if you do decide to go both on the bottom, well, then the next two you then are able to go ahead and hope that you pull something really great there. Really interesting dynamic there. Red and yellow is a really interesting color combination as well. So I'm going to be curious to see how all of that is going to formulate with this particular legend. But man, this could be a lot of fun. Now, Ornn. Now he's interesting. Blue and green, and so a lot of really fun stuff to be able to do, basically with the ability to play gear or gear ability. So he's going to be able to add a power cost essentially. So instead of like Kaisa, who was able to do that for spells, he's able to do that with gears, and that's including equipment, which is what's going to make him such a great unit to you, or such a great legend to utilize. Now there are some really good legend abilities out there, or really good equipment ability. Words are hard today with that already. You know, we have a lot of really great green gear that is able to be utilized as well, and it's going to be interesting to see just how well he'll be able to maybe keep up. Again, this all hinges on how many more cards end up getting revealed here, and it could have a lot of really fun stuff added to make him a really dynamic deck, and one that can move really fast and still keep up a lot of your runes out on the table instead of having to recycle them to utilize your equipment and your gear. So fun stuff right there. Love what that is going to do. Next, of course, is gonna be Jax Grandmaster at Arms. So with that, it's gonna be specifically saying if you pay 1 and tap him, attach a detached equipment you control to a unit you control. So free equipment, or free attaching of equipment. And then of course, if you just tap him instead, attach an attached equipment you control to a unit you control. So this is kind of like the opposite of Teemo, in the sense of, instead of being able to play hidden cards for 1 instead of recycling, you're able to equip equipment for 1 instead of a power cost, which that could be a big difference maker in and of itself. Again, hinging on how good the equipment is going to be. Now, I'm very curious to see what Jax is going to be able to do. It'd be really cool if he had like a legend ability where he could, or a champion ability where he could then go ahead and, when he was played, find a card or an equipment from your deck and put it into your hand. That would be maybe a really good ability, pretty powerful as well. But not only that, green and orange is going to be a really dynamic type deck as well. So something like what you see with Lee Sin could very well just transfer over into Jax and then be utilized more with the equipment by his ability. So some really fun stuff to be had there. Now, this is going to be interesting. The Blade Dancer, and we already saw some alt art for this, and man, does it look good, especially the signature. Whoo, that's going to be a fun card right there. Love reveal season for that reason. Now, this is going to be fun. When you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me and pay a power to ready it. So already really good ability, but then when you conquer, you may pay 1 to ready me. So you could just keep having this fun dynamic of being able to ready up units and keep moving them in and things like that. And yeah, while you do have to have some cost there, she basically is a little bit better of a Yasuo in the sense of what you are able to do. Yasuo costs 2 and then you are able to move them. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, well, Irelia is going to be really interesting to see what she's able to do then, and the speed. Not only that, but the combination of purple and green is going to be really good as well. Again, almost kind of the same dynamic as what we're seeing with Yasuo, having the movement and the fighter flights and things like that, while also being able to utilize the discipline, the find your centers and things of that nature to either help protect your stuff or just get a little bit of ramp going your way as well. She's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that she is going to really surprise a lot of people in this meta. Now, Azir, whoo, he's going to be a good one. Now, your Sand Soldiers have Weapon Master, meaning that they are able to equip equipment as they come into play, and that can be a very big difference maker as well. Not only that, but if you pay 1 and tap, put a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token to your base. Use only if you've played an equipment this turn. And so this is going to be a big hinge where it's like, well, I need to make sure that my hand has a lot of equipment in it so that I can utilize this legend ability. Now, of course, it might end up that this deck just ends up being a, you know, in a good case, you're able to then go ahead and use Azir's ability. Otherwise, the dynamic of colors and everything with his ability is good enough to where you're not necessarily utilizing it as much as Victor, but when you do, it takes you to that next level. So it'll be interesting to see, but I love the color combination. Again, we've seen what Leona can do with this color combination. And there's a lot of really fun stuff that Azir could really capitalize on, especially as we get even more cards added to this set. So, I mean, I'm keeping an eye out on him, but this color combination is really fun. And it's sad because, you know, we didn't necessarily see a lot that is able to be done at the competitive level, just because it feels like Leona is just a little bit too slow of a legend ability. But still, this is really cool to be able to see, and I can't wait to see what else they are going to get for support here. So now we have Ezreal, one of the most popular, one of the most popular champions in League of Legends. Just such a fun one to be able to play. He's the one that I love to main in ARAM when I happen to roll him. Just such a good job, and now we get to actually have him here in Riftbound. And that's just so cool. And I mean, I love the color combination, what that's going to be able to do. Ooh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So with that, of course, we are looking at a reaction speed here. Now you can draw one use only if you've chosen enemy units and or gear twice this turn with spells or unit abilities. So again, this is going to be really interesting. You're going to be able to add a +1 card, and there's going to be certain things that will really help you get there. Stupefy, for example, is going to be able to draw a card and target a unit, so you're already halfway there. And he's almost just a benefit, an extra off of that. So you could even go like fight or flight, push a unit back to base after, and stupefy another unit in that case. And there's your 2. You tap Ezreal, you draw a card. And then on top of that, you still would have maybe like 4 or 5 runes after the fact to continue your turn. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this comes together. And more so, Ezreal is at reaction speed. So you could, even in a showdown, potentially, you could then go ahead and activate, you know, your Stupefy on top of like a smoke screen, targeting a unit or units in a battlefield that you're trying to exchange with, and then tap Azrael on top of that chain to add him to it, so you draw a card and then can even potentially get another reaction or something to add to the showdown at that point. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that can even come to that to give you that little extra puzzle piece to get things going. So I mean, Ezreal is going to be so fun. I can't wait to see also what his ability is going to be as a champion. This is going to be so cool. And a lot of these also are having like a you know, green Irelia and a purple Irelia, and then you get to play with both. Well, Ezreal, I mean, this is going to be really interesting to have 2 different ones, a blue one and a purple one, you know, and that's going to be a huge dynamic. Not only that, it would be really cool to also put Lux in this as well and just see, you know, how she would be able to do, being able to add 2 to play spells as well. That could be a big difference maker too. So really exciting to be able to see this. Out of everyone, Draven is a close first. I'm really excited here, guys. I'm sorry. But I think Ezreal is the one that I really want to build a deck around first. Just by the theory crafting alone, and then probably Draven, but still. We'll see how that ends up going. But with that, this is going to be interesting. So Kim Baroness. Now, this is going to be fun. When you are an ally hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. Now, of course, that is only going to mean 1 per turn. We don't have anything that necessarily readies up legends at this point yet, at least. While your score is within 3 points of victory, your gold adds an additional rune. An additional rune. Now, this is going to be really interesting, too, because not only taking care of a power cost when you spend it and destroy it, But on top of that, you can add one. So the final 3 points in this game, you're just going to scale. You get blue. So you could even go ahead and spend, 3 gold, and then you only have to recycle 1, and you could get a time warp. You could go ahead and spend those and get a few done and play a Thousand Tail Watcher. A lot of these things you could go ahead and use and still be able to maintain a good rune count on top of that, to where she could go 0 to 100 in that in-game incredibly fast. And again, this is going to be a lot more of like what you've seen with Victor, but I feel like she can even be a little bit more dynamic because of her abilities. You do want to get points very quickly, which Victor is able to do incredibly well. But then when you get to the late game, you can just bombard with everything that you want to throw at your opponent and pay some really big things without it costing you an arm and a leg to do so. So ooh, this is exciting. She's probably number 3 on the ones I would love to build around, just because of that in-game ability. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a blast. Now, guys, 2 more. Sivir. Now, this is going to be interesting. The Battle Mistress. So with that, they have the ability that when you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. So if you do end up recycling something cool, not a problem. You'll be able to use a piece or a gold at your next turn to make up for the power cost. So again, this is going to be really utilizing a lot of really fun dynamics here. And not only that, but we've also even been informed of the reprint of the seals as well. We've already seen a couple of the one overnumbered of that as well. I think it was the Chaos one, the purple one, whatever that one's called. And so that's going to be really interesting to see how that dynamic will play. But man, Battle Mistress, this is going to be interesting. And when 1 or more enemy units die, ready me. So you could really go ahead and even charge in first after using a recycle ability at that point, and then just go ahead and ready her up after the conquer. Pay or do something else, like do a Ride the Wind, for example, that has a power cost, recycle the rune, play another gold at that point, and then be able to utilize that. Now, it would be really interesting with like 2-player as well, to just see how, these two would go together, because you do need like the different color combinations. You can't use same colors in 2v2. And that would be really fun to build these two together, but I'm curious about that. Now, last and not least is going to be Fiora. And ooh, she's cool. I like her a lot. Now, the big reason why I like her so much is because when one of your units become mighty, you may exhaust me to channel 1 rune exhausted. So again, almost a difference in Volibear. Now with Orange, you do have the ability to go ahead and make counters or whatnot. I'm spacing on that. Anyway, that add +1 might. And so being able to do so, you can do that. Not only that, but if you play something like Trifarian War Camp and you go ahead and you move your Fiora into the battlefield, well, she immediately gets +1, goes to 5. You can then go ahead and exhaust Fiora here as the legend ability and channel a rune exhausted. And so that's another dynamic that could be very fun to play around here. And it's going to be interesting to see how that will go. Again, the hard part is that's going to be once a turn. It's not like after you conquer, you can ready them up again and, do that kind of dynamic. Or, if it was like once each turn, that would be interesting, because if you did like a Call to Glory and something and added +3, then they became mighty on your opponent's turn and you could channel another one. But again, this is going to be really cool to see how this goes. And it says when one of your units becomes mighty. And so that's not necessarily a when they enter the battlefield like what it is for Volibear, but you need to become mighty. So from 3 to 5, 4 to 5, those kinds of things then become mighty. And so that might be a little bit of an interesting dynamic. And also that challenge that might come with Fiora. But guys, These are the 12 legends that are going to be a part of Spiritforged, and I am so excited to see what that is going to be. So with that, guys, there is still so much yet to be revealed. Again, until December 3rd, we are going to be seeing what reveal season is going to have in store for us with Spiritforged, and there is a lot to still come. Go ahead and take a look. There are going to be a lot of content creators who are getting their cards that they will be able to reveal within the next 7 days. And so some really exciting stuff to have there. I think a lot of them, the majority are revealing on the 28th. A lot of exciting stuff. First and foremost though, guys, what new legend are you looking most forward to building? On top of that, which one do you think is gonna sneak their way to the top of the meta? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below, and until next time, guys, have a good one.